When people pleasing has been your primary operating mode for years or even decades, it's deeply embedded in how you understand yourself. You're the one who holds it together, the one everyone can count on, the one who makes things easier. That's not just a behavior pattern, it's an identity. Welcome to The Change Effect, the podcast that helps you turn life transitions into powerful new beginnings. One story, one shift, one breakthrough at a time. I'm your host, Noelle Van, an author, leadership coach, and change strategist who spent years in corporate America helping innovators and leaders break through barriers to create success on their own terms. I now work with women to step into change to create a life they love. Whether you're putting yourself at the center of your own story, redefining success, or making a power pivot in your life, career, or business, you're in the right place. Each week, we dive into conversations with trailblazers, change makers, and everyday women experiencing the ripple effects that come from overcoming the fear and doing it anyway, providing actionable steps, practical strategies, and a whole lot of fun along the way. So if you're ready to step up and become unstoppable, buckle up and let's get started. Nobody wakes up one day and decides to be a people pleaser. It happens slowly, over years. 1,000 small adjustments, 1,000 times you swallowed what you actually wanted to say and said something easier instead. And it works for a long time. People like you, things run smoothly, you become the one everyone can count on, the one who holds it all together, the one who never makes things difficult. Until the day you realize that the version of you that everyone loves, well, that version isn't entirely you. Today, we're going to go into the aftermath. We're talking about what comes after the decision to stop people pleasing. The guilt, the pushback, the disorientation of not knowing who you are when you're not arranging yourself around someone else's needs. And the freedom that's waiting on the other side of all of it. Now, let's spend just a minute on the origin because it matters for understanding what you're actually undoing. Now, people-pleasing is almost never about weakness. It's a strategy, usually a very effective one that you developed because at some point, keeping the peace kept you safe. Making people happy earned you approval. Discounting your own needs kept the relationship intact. You were reading the room and responding intelligently to what was in it. The problem is, what started as a smart adaptation became automatic. You stop choosing it, and it just runs on autopilot. And over time, you've built an entire identity around being easy, agreeable, available, and low maintenance. And your relationships, your reputation, maybe even your career are all built on a version of you that required you to stay small to maintain it. So when you start to shift that, when you start saying no and taking up some space, having actual opinions that you'll defend, it doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It can feel like you're dismantling something structural because you are. So let's talk about the guilt first, because it usually is the first thing that shows up and the hardest thing to move through. Now, you say no to something you would have previously said yes to. You hold a boundary, you express a preference, and immediately, sometimes within seconds, there's this wave of guilt. Did I hurt them? Was that too much? Maybe I should just go back and smooth it over. Now, here's what I want you to understand about that guilt. It is not evidence that you did something wrong. It's actually evidence that you did something new. See, your nervous system has been trained over years to equate other people's comfort with your own safety. So when someone is displeased, something in you registers danger. Fix it. So the guilt isn't a moral signal. It's an old alarm system doing what it was built to do. And your job now is to break the pattern and learn to sit in that space where the alarm may sound, but you don't have to act on it. Now, I will tell you, the guilt will not go away immediately, but it does get quieter the more you practice not letting it run the show. Now, here's the thing nobody tells you. When you change, some people in your life will not be happy about it. And I want to be direct about why. Some of the people around you, not all, but some, have built their relationship with you around the accommodating version of you. You were predictable. You were easy. You said yes. You didn't take up too much room. That arrangement worked very well for them. When you stop being that person, it disrupts the system. And that disruption can look like guilt tripping, withdrawal, accusations that you've changed, which, to be clear, you have. Now, the relationships worth keeping will adjust. People who genuinely care about you will, over time, get to know the version of you that actually shows up fully. It might take some recalibration, and there might be some awkward conversations, but the relationship will hold. Now, the ones that don't hold, That's also information. A relationship that only works when you're making yourself smaller wasn't as solid as it appeared. And it's better to know that now. So let's talk about the identity disorientation that comes with all of this. Now, this one doesn't get talked about enough, and I think it's actually the hardest part. When people pleasing has been your primary operating mode for years or even decades, it's deeply embedded in how you understand yourself. You're the one who holds it together, the one everyone can count on, the one who makes things easier. So when you start dismantling it, there's this gap. If I'm not the one who's always showing up for everyone else, who am I? What do I actually want? What do I like? What would I choose if I was not choosing based on what would cause the least friction? These questions can feel disorienting, even alarming, like pulling back a curtain and finding less behind it than you expected. Now, I want to offer you a different frame. The disorientation is a sign that you have never had the space to find out. You've been so busy managing everyone else's experience that your own preferences, opinions, and desires never got much airtime. It's time to allow those needs and desires to surface. Now let's talk about the other side. It doesn't always arrive dramatically. For most women, it shows up in a subtle way. A conversation where you said exactly what you meant and didn't spend the next hour replaying it. Or a decision you made for yourself without running it by 6 people first. A no that you delivered cleanly without over-explaining and feeling completely fine. Now the freedom is in the energy that comes back to you. People-pleasing is exhausting in a way that's easy to miss because it's so constant. The monitoring, the calculating, the managing of everyone else's reactions. When you stop doing that, even partially, you get that cognitive bandwidth back. And it's significant. The freedom is also relational. When you stop being agreeable and start being honest, the people who stay get an actual version of you. Your relationships get less complicated because there's less pretense to maintain. You stop keeping track of all the things you never said. And eventually, this is the part I find most worth saying. You stop needing the approval that started this whole thing. And this is the result of building enough trust in your own judgment that external validation stops being the primary currency you run on. Now, that's what I call real freedom. So I'm going to leave you with this. Dismantling a lifetime of people-pleasing doesn't happen overnight. It's a recalibration, and it's uncomfortable in a way that most honest things are. But here's what I know. The discomfort is well worth it. It's the friction of becoming a more authentic version of yourself, and that's always a worthwhile pursuit. Now, I'm including an exercise in the show notes called the Yes Audit for those of you who want to go deeper with this. That's it for now. Until next time. Thank you for listening to The Change Effect. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed this episode, so more women like you can find us and take their next step toward creating a life they love.